Aurora spotted someone standing in front of her house from a distance. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be her sister-in-law, Haley. Aurora felt a bit uneasy dealing with Haley. Firstly, Haley was not easy to get along with, always wearing a stern expression. Secondly, Aurora felt guilty. However, since the person was already at her doorstep, she couldn't just ignore her. "Sister-in-law, why are you here so early in the morning? Where's my brother?" Aurora greeted with a forced smile. Haley, unfriendly, scrutinized her and asked, "Heading out to work so early?" Aurora unlocked the chain on the door, yawning as she replied, "The mushroom farm is hiring night shift workers these days, and I'm going to earn some money." Haley chuckled, "Oh. Your big brother just sent you so much money, and you've already spent it?" Aurora froze. Sebastian did send her money, but it wasn't sent just now, and it wasn't so much. He had transferred 1,000 at the beginning of the month. However, if she countered Haley this way, it would be like begging while complaining about the quality of the food. These years, without Sebastian's support, she couldn't afford to send both her children to school alone. That was an undeniable fact. She knew Haley had been dissatisfied with this situation all along. Putting herself in Haley's shoes, she could understand. Every family had its own struggles, and consistently giving money to others every month was hard for anyone. However, Sebastian's monthly contribution of 1,000 was not without reason. Back when the family was poor, unable to afford education for both siblings, Aurora, with slightly lower grades, had to drop out, allowing the family to focus their resources on supporting Sebastian. It was agreed at the time that Aurora made sacrifices for her brother, and in the future, Sebastian, having succeeded, would take care of his sister. Later, Sebastian fulfilled expectations and gained admission to a prestigious university. However, the parents, inexperienced in the ways of the world, believed Sebastian's university success marked the pinnacle. Little did they know that getting into college was just the beginning. Due to a challenging job market, Sebastian continued his education, pursuing a postgraduate degree. After completing his master's, he finally secured a decent job. Just when the parents were eagerly anticipating Sebastian's support, he informed them that to establish himself in the big city, he needed to buy a house, which his salary couldn't afford. The parents' hopes were dashed, and they continued working hard, saving every penny, combined with Sebastian's earnings, barely managing to scrape together a down payment for a modest apartment. With a house secured, Sebastian proceeded with the conventional steps of marriage and starting a family, each significant event in his life squeezing the family's finances. In this process, while Aurora wasn't directly drained by her brother, the family stopped supporting her. She received no financial assistance, and even her dowry comprised just a few quilts. In other words, the money that should have been set aside for her needs had been used to support her brother. Finally, Sebastian, the rural lad, firmly established himself in the big city, truly becoming an urbanite. The parents had completed all their tasks of supporting their own child, expecting to enjoy their days in peace. However, due to accumulated fatigue, they fell seriously ill one after another. At that time, Aurora was also working outside. Faced with two options as siblings, taking turns to return home and care for the parents or hiring a nurse, Sebastian couldn't come back due to work commitments and Haley's pregnancy. After checking around, he found that hiring a nurse was not easy, costing over $200 a day. Coupled with medical expenses, it was a staggering amount for Sebastian, who had just started his family. In the end, Aurora had to make another sacrifice, quitting her job, leaving her own small family behind, to care for her parents at their sickbed. Considering all the past sacrifices, Sebastian indeed owed her. If her life were secure now, with the ability to stand on her own feet, she wouldn't care about Sebastian's meager financial contribution. However, 2 years ago, her partner fell seriously ill and passed away, leaving her alone to support 2 children. Sebastian, with a conscience, offered to assist her, and she accepted it calmly. As for the discontent from her sister-in-law Haley, she understood but couldn't do anything about it. If anyone had to be blamed, it should be Haley for choosing to marry a Phoenix man like Sebastian. Aurora reluctantly let Haley into the house, scooping out half a bowl of leftover rice from the rice cooker. She poured some hot water and enjoyed it with a pair of chopsticks and a side of pickled vegetables. Haley, in an unfriendly tone, remarked, "Is this all you eat?" The 2 kids are in junior high, still in compulsory education. The town doesn't offer extra classes, just the dormitory expenses. How much money can it possibly cost? Isn't the money your brother sent you enough? What have you been doing with it? Aurora felt a bit annoyed. How could 1,000 a month be considered so much? However, she controlled her temper and replied, the two kids will need to go to high school and college in the future. There are many expenses, and we need to save where we can. Haley continued with sarcasm, well, you have your brother. He won't let you guys suffer, will he? Unable to tolerate it any longer, Aurora slammed the chopsticks on the table and asked, sister-in-law, my brother sent me 1,000 at the beginning of the month. Why do you make it sound like he sent 20,000? Don't you know why my brother sends me money? Haley stood up abruptly, he did send you 20,000. Aurora was stunned, her mouth agape. Suspicion crept in, and she asked, did my brother tell you this? Haley responded, yes. We've always managed our own money. I don't interfere much. I knew he would receive a performance bonus this month, thinking of using it for the kids' extracurricular activities. He said he sent 20,000, all to support you. Haven't you received it? As Haley reached for her phone, seemingly ready to question Sebastian, Aurora sensed there might be more to the story. To avoid unnecessary complications, she instinctively accepted the explanation, sister-in-law, yes, that's right. But the 20,000 isn't a gift from my big brother, it's a loan I took. Don't worry, I'll repay it. Haley hesitated, putting her phone back in her pocket and softening her tone, whether it's a loan or not, does it matter? Will your big brother make you repay it? Aurora, I understand your situation. Your big brother is helping you within his means. I never came to you for money before, right? But don't think that just because our salaries are higher, our expenses aren't. Mortgage, car expenses, raising kids, social obligations, all require money. Even drinking a glass of water costs money. We have our difficulties too. Aurora was not in the mood for a conversation with Haley. Her mind was filled with Sebastian's financial matters, and she mechanically responded, yes, 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 sure, you can rest assured. I know what's going on. I'm not that shameless. After chatting for a while, exhausted and sleepy, Aurora struggled to keep her eyes open. Seeing that Aurora lacked energy and had endured enough, Haley finally left. Once Haley was gone, Aurora lay in bed, unable to sleep. Haley's words seemed sincere, and if Sebastian did have something to hide, she thought about calling him. However, she feared she wouldn't get a clear answer. This was not a trivial matter for her. If she truly spent those 20,000, she would admit it. The problem was, she didn't spend it. Why should she take the blame for Sebastian? Suddenly, Aurora sat up. No. This matter must be clarified. Aurora bought a ticket to the bus station and arrived at Sebastian's company 3 hours later. Knowing that Sebastian's workplace was a reputable company, she didn't want to barge in recklessly, so she waited downstairs. During the lunch break, Sebastian didn't come out. In the afternoon, hungry and dizzy, Aurora finally spotted Sebastian coming out. She called out, brother, and rushed over. However, she was met with Sebastian's bewildered gaze, filled with a mix of surprise and helplessness. You're here? Why didn't you let me know in advance? Sebastian's tone carried a clear sense of reproach. Aurora took a step back, suppressing the smile on her face. Just as she was about to speak, she noticed a young and beautiful woman standing next to Sebastian, looking at him with a face full of grievance. Aurora watched the silent exchange between the two, and her intuition kicked in. Her mind raced, and she asked, who is she? Sebastian turned awkwardly, just a friend. Don't ask. What brings you here suddenly? Aurora pointed to the thermos in the woman's hand. What kind of friend comes over specifically to bring you food? After saying that, she turned directly to the woman and asked, what kind of friend are you to my brother? Does my sister-in-law know you? The woman was angry, turned her head, and walked away. Aurora turned back and shouted at Sebastian, is this how friends behave? Sebastian, you're something. Cheating behind my sister-in-law's back. Sebastian quickly scanned the surroundings, pulled Aurora over, and lowered his voice, don't mind my business. What are you doing coming here? Need money again? The mention of money made Aurora suddenly think of what Haley had said. Your brother sent you so much money. Aurora felt she had guessed the truth but didn't want to believe it. Impatiently, Sebastian said, the kids want to join some extracurricular classes. I'm tight this month. I'll send you some next month. Understanding, Aurora smiled gently, Haley came to my house this morning. She said you gave me 20,000. I didn't receive it, brother. Where did you send it? WeChat, Alipay, or bank card? Let me check? Haley trusts you so much, she didn't even check your transfer records. Sebastian stood there, stunned and speechless. Seeing his reaction, Aurora knew her guess was correct, and anger surged within her. She remembered the years when her parents worked hard to support Sebastian in establishing himself in the city. She recalled quitting her job to take care of her parents, enduring all the unfair treatment. She had long accepted her fate, thinking she had bad luck. But never did she imagine that one day, her own brother, who had enjoyed all the benefits, would toss such a burden onto her shoulders. Tears welled up in her eyes as she pointed at Sebastian. "I considered you a true brother, and you treat me as a tool for settling scores. Bravo, Sebastian." Aurora wiped away her tears and turned to leave, but Sebastian hurriedly rushed up to stop her. "Little sister, what are you trying to do?" Aurora pushed him away, saying, "I'm going to find Haley. I want to tell her that you only send me 1,000 each month, not more." Sebastian pleaded, "No, no, no, please don't. Don't let Haley know. It was just a moment of confusion. I'll definitely stop it in the future. Little sister, it's not easy for me to settle down here. You know how much effort our parents put into this. If I divorce, it'll be over for me." Aurora retorted, "Your own misconduct and recklessness have nothing to do with me." Sebastian argued, "If I don't live well, how can I help you? Do you think you can afford to send your 2 children to school by doing odd jobs? Do you think everything will be fine once they graduate from college? Look at my little sister, without family support, even after getting into college, she's not living well. If I do well here, my nephew and niece will have someone to rely on in the future. Otherwise, will they rely on you?" Aurora stopped in her tracks, her shoulders slumping. She knew everything Sebastian said was true. In recent years, Sebastian's career had been steadily rising, and this might be one reason for his inflated ego. If he didn't run into trouble, he would accumulate even more connections and relationships. By the time her 2 children graduated, Sebastian would, to some extent, be able to provide assistance. She worked tirelessly at the mushroom farm, spraying water, cutting mushroom roots, earning 10 or 20 yuan at a time. Why? She endured Haley's disdain, accepted Sebastian's assistance, all for the sake of her children. Thinking about it, she asked, "How did you explain it to Haley? What did you tell her about how much you send me each month?" Sebastian whispered, "I report 2 to 3,000 each month. If she doesn't ask, I won't mention it. If she asks and I can't explain, I'll say it's all sent to you." Aurora smiled, "It seems your little affair values you a lot, willing to spend even that little money. In your heart, your sister is worth less than your affair. You give her more than you give me. Brother, when you're dating your affair outside, your sister is at home eating plain rice with leftover side dishes. How can you shamelessly put the expenses of your dates on my head?" Sebastian adjusted his glasses, his face not looking great. "Aurora, words shouldn't be said like that. Even siblings need to live their own lives. Just because you've suffered doesn't mean I can't live a good life. I've done my best to help you." Aurora, nearly furious, said, "Yes, you're right. I don't want to argue about the past. I'm too lazy to discuss it with you. If you have a conscience, I don't need to bring it up. I can't manage my own life, let alone your family affairs. But now, I've taken the blame, and in Haley's eyes, I'm a bloodsucker. Fine, let's just admit it. Haley believes you gave me 20,000. So, you better give me 20,000 now. I won't pursue the 2 to 3,000 each month. Brother, let's face it. If Haley is convinced that you gave me 20,000, then give it to me immediately. Each month, just report 2 to 3,000. That's it." Sebastian was very angry. "What are you saying? Are you crazy?" Aurora retorted, "I think you're the crazy one. When you tarnished my reputation in front of my sister-in-law, did you think about how I would get along with her in the future? Did you ever consider that even if I'm poor, I still have my dignity?" Sebastian's eyes behind his glasses flickered, and he softened his tone. "Fine, Aurora, I'll support you more in the future. Don't worry, I'll break up with her soon, and I won't let you suffer this grievance again. Okay? Can you give me some time?" Aurora didn't want to push Sebastian to the edge, so after thinking for a moment, she said, "All right, I'll wait for your message. If you make me take the blame again, don't blame me for not cherishing our sibling relationship." Aurora, filled with frustration, returned home. The more she thought about it, the more aggrieved she felt. Growing up in this family, she couldn't escape suffering and hardships, and yet she hadn't enjoyed any benefits. In recent years, she had been receiving a monthly subsidy of 1,000 yuan from Sebastian, eagerly bowing her head when facing Haley. Now, for the sake of this meager amount of money, she had to act as a cover for Sebastian's indiscretions. She hated Sebastian for being heartless and ungrateful, and even more so, she hated her own helplessness. If only she could be more resolute, not caring about Sebastian's money. Why let people look down on her? Aurora harbored a deep resentment, and she worked even harder than before. However, her capabilities were limited, she could only earn so much, and working late into the night or exerting herself more didn't significantly increase her income. Before long, Aurora fell ill from exhaustion. She didn't tell anyone, lying alone at home, barely conscious. She used her phone to request leave from the supervisor at the mushroom farm. However, due to a similarity in profile pictures, she mistakenly sent the leave request to Haley instead. Haley came over the next morning. As a person constantly seeking financial assistance, Aurora felt embarrassed to speak with Haley. As a sister who knew but didn't inform, she felt even more guilty facing Haley. Haley still had a stern expression but brought medicine and water, saying, "Continuing like this won't do. Why not try something else?" Aurora replied, "I don't know anything, and I have no education. Who would want me?" Haley checked her phone. "I have a friend who runs a domestic service agency. I'll contact her, and you can sign up to learn something. Being a maternity nurse, breastfeeding consultant, or part-time worker, all of those are fine. It's easier than what you're doing now, and you can earn more money. Once you've mastered it, it can also be considered a skill." Aurora opened her eyes, tears welling up as she looked at Haley. Haley continued, "I talked to her, and I gave her your WeChat. When you're better, go find her. I'll cover the tuition for now, and you can repay me when you start earning." Haley was about to leave when Aurora, with closed eyes, said, "Sister-in-law, starting next month, I won't take a penny from my brother. Guide me, and I'll stand on my own feet. I promise." These words were something Aurora had struggled with for a long time. She couldn't directly tell Haley about Sebastian's affair since he was her blood brother. However, she also didn't want to continue assisting her brother in his wrongdoing. So, she decided not to take his money anymore, to avoid being blamed for his misdeeds. She could only pray silently in her heart that Sebastian would be more cautious. Before Haley discovered anything, he would quickly sever ties with the other woman. This way, the matter would pass, benefiting everyone. However, things didn't unfold in the direction she hoped for. The mistress, unbelievably, had the audacity to find Haley and confess everything. Aurora was attending classes at Haley's classmates' training center when she received the call and hurried to Sebastian's home. The entire situation left her bewildered. Upon seeing Aurora, Haley redirected her anger and unleashed a torrent of accusations, pointing at her and shouting, "Aurora, you're utterly despicable. You lack basic moral principles. Your misfortune is your own retribution." Aurora, looking at Sebastian who was sitting there with disheveled hair, shouted, "Sebastian, what is going on?" Haley, crazed, lunged forward. "I've seen you struggle to raise 2 kids, living a frugal life, relying on your brother's monthly support. I've gone out of my way to help you find jobs, encouraged you to learn skills. I've put so much effort into it, and how do you repay me? Your brother is cheating, and you're helping him cover it up, deceiving me. Your conscience has been eaten by a dog. That fox spirit even showed off with a bag of 20,000. Do you know how painful that is? That money was meant for my child's extracurricular activities." Aurora yelled, "I didn't know. I only found out recently. My brother counted the money he spent on the other woman as my expenses. I was unaware, and I'm furious too." Haley screamed, "So you knew, yet you kept it from me. If that vixen hadn't come to me crying and asking me to step aside, would I have been fooled by you and your brother for a lifetime? Aurora, do you think letting this matter quietly pass is good for me?" Aurora had nothing to say. She harshly kicked Sebastian. "Say something. Did I conspire with you to deceive my sister-in-law?" Sebastian ignored her completely, kneeling down and pleading, "Haley, it's my fault, I've let you down. Give me another chance. It's not what you think between me and her. She's been pestering me, and I made a mistake in a moment of weakness. I promise you, I'll never see her again. I'll let you control all my money, and I'll do whatever you say." Haley wailed loudly, and Sebastian remained on his knees. Aurora stood a short distance away, watching these two, feeling particularly uncomfortable. Even if Sebastian clarified things for her at this moment, Haley wouldn't believe it. And she, having concealed Sebastian's affair when Haley helped her find a job, was not in the right. In the end, Haley and Sebastian did not divorce. With Sebastian shamelessly and recklessly assuring her and considering factors such as Sebastian's future, their children, and their joint property, they reconciled and joined forces in a lawsuit to reclaim the money spent on the mistress as joint marital assets. It wasn't a significant amount, but Haley was determined to get it back, enjoying the torment inflicted on everyone involved during the process. After this turmoil, Aurora and Haley, as well as Sebastian, were thoroughly estranged. Sebastian never provided her with any financial support again, and he couldn't, as he had to request even his own pocket money from Haley. Haley never contacted Aurora again. No matter how Aurora explained, Haley firmly believed that she wasn't an innocent scapegoat but rather an accomplice in covering up Sebastian's affair. Later, Aurora came to understand that the truth might not matter. For Haley, as long as she wanted to continue her life with Sebastian, breaking ties with Aurora, the burden held more significance than the actual truth. Fortunately, Aurora completed her domestic service training, gradually found work, and managed to barely support herself and her 2 children. The road ahead was long, but she believed she could endure and make things better. In a way, she had to thank Haley. It was Haley who pointed her towards a path that allowed her to be self-sufficient. However, this expression of gratitude would never have a chance to be uttered. She and her brother-in-law had become strangers, entangled in right and wrong, with no need and no opportunity for further explanation.